after 3 minutes past 10. Now tell me Reagan isn't a warmonger.
What's best in the Northwest?
Stupid swine thinks it's a cowboy movie, I'm sure. If ever that guy had to fight for himself, there'd been none of it. But no, he sends young American men to kill Arabs. We're a belter, were it not? Could you please say hi and thanks to my mum and staff at St Gregory's Club for organising a good disco for my birthday? So says Fiona Christianza, who tells us not what her name is. And on Saturday, when I was at David Taylor Carr's, along with Stuart Hall and Sally Moon a bit later on, then I met someone who, for the whole of the day, stood by the door with the visitors book, giving away free raffle tickets when people could win all kinds of prizes, including holidays and the like. And her name was Barbara Baxter. So how do to Barbara, and you did a grand job, and I hope you've warmed up at last.
I was trapped in the corner of this really boring party.
No, sorry, Josh Barrow of Grosvenor Road in Wallasey has a computer that prints out big writing. I know this because I have the benefit of a chunk of the big writing, which is barely legible in front of me. I don't know what kind of a computer you have, Josh Barrow, or even Hugh G. and then the other name, but I don't fall for those, do I? Anyway, those chaps, allow me to tell you that yon computer is crap. Get a good one. Get an Amstrad, because this one writes such garbage. However, allow me to tell you that he wants me to say no to Eddie the Slap, Sully the Cabbage, Turbo Tongue, Kirk the Flake, Falky the Bowl, Scuddy the Penguin, there's two of them, James Bond and Hot Dog, all of whom are at Mossland School in Wallasey. Well, I think it's some kind of romantic love song done in a high squeaky voice by Jim Diamond, but I haven't a clue what it's about, other than it's called Hi-O Silver. And I must admit, after the first bars, I didn't bother listening to the rest, because I think it's dreadful. At about 10:15, please could you say hi to Fiona, Grain, and Donna, and Melanie, and Virginia, and Amanda, and Tracy, and Gillian? Of course I can. A letter from Fleetwood. I'm going to Fleetwood to do a Beswick at Large in August this year. Perhaps you'd like to get a ticket. It's at the Marine Hall and it's £3.50, and the ubiquitous Incognito are in support. Janice Blair's written in from Addison Road. I listen to your programme every night and really enjoy it. Please could you say how do to the third year at Escath High School, and a special Beswick how do to Karen Ballum, Janine Butler, Chris Blowers, Ingrid Burton. Aren't you a film star? No, that's Ingrid Bergman, isn't it? Never mind. Helen Fitton and Elaine Riley. Is Helen Fitton a Fitton, I ask? Who are all Beswick Alex. And can you please tell them in a morning at school? And you can... Oh, I see. And you can tell in a morning at school. I see. I'm with it now. I see. And you want a Red Rose price list. I'm sure that's on its way to you. Well, I hope it is. Could you please give us a big how do on your request spot? We are Bob Makin, Loz, Cy and Wayne. And they live in Warrington, in Chester Road, Ellesby via Warrington. I was in Helsby the week before last on our way back from that woods, Delamere Forest. And we came back sort of near Helsby. We went to Frodsham, in fact. We didn't quite get to Helsby, but, well, we were close. Would you like a van? There was one for somebody called Makin, and I went to school with a lad whose brother, when his name was Makin, well, both their names were Makin, in fact, but his brother only had one testicle. It is my wife's birthday on the 23rd of March, and she will reach the grand old age of... Would you please play a record for her? Well, I will, but unfortunately, I don't do dedications on a Sunday, so a happy birthday. They wanted the Jim Reeves record, but I'm sorry, we don't do requests either. You're not having a good time, really, are you? Anyway, it comes from Frank Merritt, and despite this rather long letter, he doesn't tell us anywhere what his wife's name is. Anyway, a very happy birthday for yesterday.
April in Paris is everyone's dream.
To Steve Tizer, Wince, Streetfield, Drainey, who's known as Drago, Annie, Ian, Louise, Helen, Joanne, Monique, Kelsey, Walmsley, Kieran, Finney, Tina, and everyone else. Can there be anybody else in the third year at St Cuthbert, Maine? And this comes from Robert McDougall and Gavin Kelly. Good Celtic names. Last week I was at David Taylor Carr's and Stuart Hall was there, and I didn't get there till 12 because I have to have a little gonk in the mornings, not getting home until the early hours. Well, allow me to tell you that Mr. Hall proceeded around the town of Blackburn in an horse and cart. He has an extraordinary way of entertaining himself, does Mr. Hall, and incidentally he has got a brown face and white hands. He didn't even deny it. He was proud of it. Extraordinary fellow. Anyway, he went all round the town in an horse and cart, like a deranged milkman of yesteryear. I use the term yesteryear advisedly because that's whose horse and cart it was. They also have Rolls Royces and things like that. It's a company in Longton called Yesteryear. And if ever you want a fancy horse and cart for a wedding or just for an afternoon out or a Rolls Royce in extraordinarily beautiful livery, then perhaps you'd like to give them a ring on Longton 612023. Yesteryear, no less. It suited Mr. Hall down to the ground. Well, yesteryear, you see. He's knocking on a bit, you know. An apple and an elephant. A green apple and a pink elephant. There's not a lot of pink elephants about, I don't suppose, but here we are with green apple. Could you please play Train of Thought by Aha? No, because I think they're brilliant. Well, you may well think that, but we don't do requests as such on this little programmette. We haven't the time, the inclination, and what's more, we don't know our way around the library. Anyway, will you say hi to Mary D, Sarah Mick, Helen S, Anna C, Tracy L, B.A, Ruth Carla, Sarah G, Sharon Vicky Smithy, Sean D, and Stephen. And anyone else who's been left out of that almost interminate list. They reside, or at least attend, St Cecilia's High School in Longridge. Sarah Cuff, who usually gets put round the back of people's ears. You've heard of a cuff behind the ear. Well, anyway, she wrote that in. The elephant, however, comes from a salubrious den of iniquity. Pontin's Camp, Shore Road, Ainsdale. Me and my mate are working at Colditz for the summer, and we wanted to use up some of these elephants. Yes, can understand why. So we thought we'd write to you. If you could play as a record, it would be smart. We think your show's brilliant. Sorry we can't send you a Mars bar. There's no way you can put it in an elephant. Oh, I don't know. We thought you would have one. But anyway, we ate it. With love from Les and Adele in Chalet and then a number. I wouldn't read that number out. There'd be extraordinary fellows round there immediately. 16 minutes to 11. I suppose we ought to do this.
Ring him if you dare.
Allan Beswick, the late night show.
And the lines are open now on Preston 561000. Plus, of course, a free go at the old jackpot when you could win 200 quid worth of stuff. That's 150 quid worth of frozen food, plus, of course, a food processor. But the prize that you definitely get if you answer the question correctly and come out the hat first is the top 3 LPs. And all I want to know is, in the 60s, who was married to Sonny Bono? And Mrs. Bono won't do as an answer. I want to know what performer was married to Sonny Bono. They used to do songs together. To the lines, indeed, to Toby. Hello, Toby.
Alan?
Yes?
Don't think we should have cruise missiles in Britain.
Why not?
Well, because your thoughts are much more lethal.
That it? Drop
Yeah.
dead, cretin. How do Nick?
Hello, Alan. I'd like to talk about
Nick, are you male or female?
the male.
Then you're too young. Go to bed. Hello, Karen.
Hello, Alan.
Yes?
I'd like to talk about the army. Like, I went on the army days. Like, I went in for the army.
Yes.
Days.
You applied to join, did you?
Yeah. But they said that, have you been in trouble with the law days? And I had 3 times. But do you think that's right or wrong? Because you wouldn't let me go in then.
Well, it's absolutely right. And the last thing we want
Why
to
is
do...
it right?
Well, I was going to tell you before you so rudely interrupted.
But if it... Say if there was a war.
And indeed asked and interrupted again.
Yeah, but say if there was a war.
Yes.
Do you want me then, wouldn't they?
Well, they might still be rather fussy about someone with 3 lots of being in trouble with the police.
Yeah. Alan? I want to ask another question.
Well, we don't answer questions. Goodbye. Try to stay out of trouble in future. Hello, Darren. Darren has gone. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Alan. I've got personal questions to ask you. I'm a bit gay, and I get really embarrassed about it.
How old are you, Adam?
21 and live at Howellfold, and
You live where?
Howellfold in Bolton.
I see.
And everyone keeps calling me.
Well, don't worry about
Every
it.
time I see her,
Well, don't worry about it.
So do you know what I can do about this?
Well, you're not only gay, Adam. I actually tolerate gay people, indeed quite enjoy their company. But little snotty-nosed children I can't abide, so go to bed. Hello to nobody, I've forgotten who. Tommy.
How do you, Alan? Alan, I'm just phoning to say...
I know you're just phoning. I've managed to calculate that myself.
Well, I had the car right, Alan.
I don't know whether that is right. I have no means of checking.
Yeah, but it got towed away, so I just parked it because they ran out with petrol.
Indeed.
And someone just... Joe's a scrapyard, he just towed it away.
Well, you should buy better cars, and then they won't think they're scrap at the side of the road. Goodbye. Hello, John. John has gone. On line 8, we have Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Hello, Stephen.
All right, Alan.
Yes, turn your radio off. Now.
What?
Turn your radio off. You know the little box in the corner? Turn it off.
It is off.
Right. Now what do you want?
Don't you reckon we're doing a bit bad in the West Indies, eh? Cricket.
Of course we're doing bad in the West Indies.
What do
We
you
were
reckon we can
always
do about it?
we can't do anything about it. We're not good enough to do
I
anything
know,
about
it's
it.
pretty crap, isn't it?
It's a lot crap. Is that all you've got to say?
Pardon?
Grant. Billy, you snot gobbling pillock. That never gets through. Hello, Anne.
Hello. I wonder if you could give me some advice, Alan.
No idea, Anne.
Well, it's about a neighbour's dog. It barks actually day and night. It barks for nothing. I've had a word with her on several occasions because I have...
Can I interrupt you, Anne, and save you giving me the whole schmozzle and ask you a straightforward question? What do you want to do about it?
Well, I want it stopping.
Indeed. But given that the dog probably barks because it knows no better, it is unlikely that its owner is going to be able to train it not to bark.
Well, I don't know, it's about 4-year-old. So...
Indeed, I don't know either, but assuming that a 4-year-old dog is unlikely now to be taught not to bark, and given that the owner isn't there perpetually to implement that training, it would seem that there's only one course available, and that is eventually for the dog to shut up or be put to death. Are you prepared to contemplate that?
Not really, no.
But that could end up the ultimate. Are you prepared? If you're not, then there's little point in starting along the road.
The thing is, I have a daughter who works nights, and she's not getting much sleep during the day with it, you know.
But of course, if she worked daytime, she wouldn't get to sleep at night anyway.
No, she wouldn't, no.
So it really doesn't matter that she works nights if it's barking perpetually, does it?
No.
Right. What I suggest you do is get a solicitor to write a letter to your neighbour and tell your neighbour that if they do not keep their dog and its sounds under control, then you will be taking further action. That further action may well be an order from the magistrate's court telling them to shut their dog up. And if that fails, the magistrates may well then be prepared to order to have the dog destroyed. So that is the possible ultimate result of your actions. All right?
Right, thank you.
Wish you luck. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Alan.
Yeah.
All Amstrad computers are crap.
Well, they may well be in your view. I don't use mine, the computer element of it, and I find the word processor of mine to be absolutely superb.
Well, there's other computers you can use, so why
I'm sure there must be. I've never used another one, to be perfectly frank. I have on high recommendation by many, many people in the computer industry who tell me that the Amstrad is currently the best on the market for the functions I require, and that is a word processor.
Well, you know, you read out a letter before.
I know I read out a letter. It's very difficult for me not to remember reading out a letter such a short time ago. I don't really need the help of any computer, crap or otherwise, to remember events less than an hour ago.
Well, anyway, that was done off of BBC Micro.
So?
Because I know him. I just thought I'd tell you.
Well, I'm really, really intrigued by the information. You must have a lot of money to waste, Jeff. Hello, Frank. We can't hear you, bum-brained pillock. How do, Phil?
How do, Alan?
Well?
I'd like to talk about the artificial turf at Deepdale.
Go on.
I think it's a good idea, do you not?
That's a question.
Well, it's got to be good, hasn't it? It's bringing in extra revenue for the club.
Well, the actual existence of the turf won't bring any more money in.
Well, it will, because they'll get money from renting the turf out for people to use during the week.
Well, first of all, it's not absolutely certain that the people using it during the week will actually pay to use it, because, of course, the local authority will have control of the turf and, in fact, control of the use of that turf. And I presume, although I must admit I don't know, the revenue resulting in that control will go to the coffers of the local authority. The financial way that Preston North End will benefit is, of course, that they won't have to pay as much for the turf as they would have had to were they buying it exclusively.
Yeah.
Yes, no.
Well, for starters, they're getting an extra 60,000 a year over the next 5 years, aren't they, to subsidise them?
Indeed they are, and that subsidy will mean that they no longer, they being Preston North End, no longer have the exclusive use of their own ground. Now, I'm not suggesting that that is in any way a bad thing or a good thing. It is just a factual thing. But what they won't have, as far as I'm aware, is what you suggest, and that is the ability to make extra revenue from that turf.
They've got to be able to.
How?
If they rent it out, they're bound to take a percentage of it, aren't they?
Phil, the economic benefit that they're getting from the existence of that turf is the one you've just quoted, and that is the rate support, as it were, support from the rates for their existence. They're not then going to be able to hire out the turf. Indeed, the control of when and where that turf is used will lie in the hands of the local authority, not in the hands of Preston North End.
Yeah, but they will most probably take a percentage of whatever they take.
Why do you believe that?
Well, it's bound to do. It's only logical, isn't it?
Well, no, it isn't only logical. If they're already receiving, or will already be receiving, £60,000 per annum, then perhaps that is revenue sufficient to compensate them for the loss of use. I hardly think that Preston Borough Council are going to spend £60,000 per annum for a facility that they then have to pay to use.
Yeah, well, my view is that I think they'll be taking a percentage of it.
Well, your view can be what it like. I'll make do with the facts. How do, Paul?
Allan Beswick. I want to talk about God and the reason there must be him, because somebody must have had I forgot what I was going to say. See you.
Well, ring me back when you know. Hello, Steve.
How do, Alan? I'd like to talk about baby calves. Last week, somebody rung up and said that they drunk milk. You said that because they drunk milk, baby calves were slaughtered. That's not true.
I see. Would you like to explain yourself?
Well, baby calves, you see, they're fed on until they're full grown, and then they're slaughtered for beef. They're not slaughtered when they're babies.
But they don't drink the mother's milk.
Yeah, but you're on
Do
about
they or
humans.
do they not drink the mother's milk?
They don't drink the mother's milk.
They don't drink the mother's milk.
No.
They are in fact taken away from the mother. Some
Yeah.
of them to slaughter, some of them to
No,
be...
none of them are slaughtered.
I'm sorry.
It's not economical to slaughter them in this country.
Okay, well, I'm prepared to accept that, if you like, but it doesn't alter the fact that the only way we get milk is because it is acceptable for the children of the parent to be slaughtered. Not immediately. I'm prepared to accept that because it really isn't important. But they're going to be taken away and, to use your term, fed on. Why they can't be left with the milk, one wonders, but never mind. They're taken away, they're fed on, and then they're put to death for you and I to eat. So people that drink milk contribute to that process.
Yeah, but if we
Well, I'm
drink
glad
milk
you
in the
agree.
first place, they wouldn't be given life anyway.
That's a matter of opinion. It's a question of whether the cow was here first or the man, and you don't know the answer to that, and indeed, neither do I. But my cat, I don't drink its milk, but it's there. Never mind, it's now 11 o'clock.
The 11 o'clock news, this is Alan King. America has launched a devastating attack against Libya tonight, sinking one of Colonel Gaddafi's gunboats and hitting a Libyan missile base with 2 ultramodern missiles. The United States action was in retaliation for Libyan missile attacks on 2 U.S. warplanes on exercise with a 30-strong American fleet. The clash came in the Gulf of Sirte, which America claims is international waters, and Libya insists is its own territory. From Washington, Andrew Mandelstam.
President Reagan gave the all-clear for the retaliation after being advised by commanders in the field that a total of 6 Libyan missiles had been launched at U.S. aircraft on routine patrol over the disputed area. A Libyan high-speed naval vessel which sought to approach the U.S. task force was destroyed by American aircraft. The White House says there were no survivors. Later, U.S. jets attacked a major Libyan missile base after indications that further Soviet-built SAMs were about to be launched against American aircraft. The U.S. is now assessing the damage. At a news conference, President Reagan's spokesman, Larry Speaks, said the Libyan attack was entirely unprovoked.
U.S. forces were intent upon only making the legal point that beyond the internationally recognized 12-mile limit, the Gulf of Sidra belongs to no one, and that all nations are free to move through international waters and airspace. It should be noted that because of these numerous Libyan missile launches and indications that they intend to continue air and missile attacks on U.S. forces, we now consider all approaching Libyan forces to have hostile intent.
Speaks confirmed that there were no American losses. Andrew Mandelstam, IRN, Washington.
10 Downing Street is denying claims that Mrs. Thatcher sold Australian shares at a profit last year. A statement says the Prime Minister was merely transferring them to an investment advisor acting on her behalf, and she still owns them.
Hello to, I've forgotten who, sorry, Graham.
Hello, Alan.
Yes.
I don't know how many collieries are being closed down, but I think it's a good idea that before they seal them up, they should put nuclear waste, low-level nuclear waste down it before they seal it up.
On the face of it, that sounds like a good idea. Unfortunately, collieries, even when they're finished, don't get completely sealed. And there is something that they already put down disused mines, and we'd have to find somewhere to put that. And that is the slurry from other pits.
Yeah, that's down the actual shaft though, is it not?
Well, when it goes down the shaft, it spreads out. It's liquid. Yeah. It spreads out along the base of the mine.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
And I was once engaged for a very short period of time whilst on leave from the army, driving a tanker from the coal pit at Newton, and I've forgotten the name of it, but it'll come to me. Moss Side, is it?
No, Parkside.
Sorry?
Is it Parkside?
Parkside Colliery, yes, the great big one there. And we would go there, and then we'd go down the East Lancashire Road about 8 miles towards Manchester and turn right into a tiny little pit that used to exist, and we'd drop all this stuff down there. Astley Pit, absolutely correct.
Yeah, Astley Green, that's what, yeah.
That's Astley Green, and we used to tip it down there.
Oh. Well, I didn't know. I just thought I thought they just sealed them up empty. I didn't.
Well, they may well see. There was an occasion in the '60s when they poured milk down one. Do you remember?
No.
Well, I do. I remember being absolutely horrified, even though I was quite young at the time. Anyway, it sounds like a good idea. There must be lots of reasons why they don't do it, not the least of which is that they would then have to cart this nuclear waste across country. You'd already cart across country to get to the place to be reprocessed, and then, of course, it'd have to be taken to the mine, and that would enhance the danger. Plus, of course, they need to put it down somewhere and then bury it, and they can't be absolutely certain without going down there that they have done that properly. So that would mean danger for individuals going down mines that haven't been in use possibly for years, months or whatever. Or there would be the massive expense of maintaining the mine just so that they can put this stuff in it and then seal it. So it may well turn out to be absolutely astronomical in expense, and it would quadruple the risk at least, because if it's going on trains or lorries through our countryside, then that obviously enhances the risk, despite demonstrations with express trains.
Probably somebody's thought about it, like you said.
I'm sure it must have crossed somebody's mind, Graham. OK?
Yeah.
Thanks for your call.
Good night.
How do, Mike?
Hello, I'd like to talk about national radio with me.
Go on. You're not talking, you cretinous blimp. How do to who? Jason. Hello, Jason. Jason, when you finally hear my voice on your radio, it'll be telling you that you're a prat and you should have listened on your phone. Hello, Mary.
Hello, Alan?
Yes?
I wondered, when you do you argue with Alan...
I'm doing it now.
Yeah, well, when you visit towns and in town halls and that sort of thing, doing your show, do you have your own people to do follow spots and such like?
No.
No? Well, what did you think
In fact,
of
we don't use follow spots.
Don't you? You don't use them?
No, there's no
that's
point.
a shame, because I was talking to the lady in the Coronation Hall, because she came on Friday.
That's right.
She said you were a bit of a disappointment, really.
Well, that's her problem,
Seeing you
not mine.
after that. Well, I'm an apprentice to the electrical engineer there, you see, and I was hoping to get in doing a follow spot, have a look on your show free.
I see. Well, we don't use follow
green light,
spots.
'cause
We
you know
use...
people get...
Well, yes, that may well be so. But the difference is... What is your name? Mary?
Murray.
No. Sorry?
Murray.
Murray, I thought it was Mary. The difference is, Murray... Pardon? I'm sorry?
You're taking the rip.
I don't have to. You've managed to do so remarkably well on your own. You see, Murray, when people... Yes, I know. But the thing is, Murray, people know I'm fat because they know who I am.
I know, Alan.
But nobody knows who you are, Murray. You're a nothing.
You do.
You are the pickings from a dog's nose. Hello, Christine.
Hi, Al.
Yes, I am. Are you Christine?
Yeah.
Then we've made contact.
Hiya. Right. I was just wondering, why is it that Americans always seem to be in the vicinity of troubles and wars?
Because Reagan is a warmongering bastard, that's why.
Oh, good, I'm glad you agree.
Absolutely. I mean, let's face it. He was turned down with the weaponry to support the Nicaraguans. His Congress turned him down, so he goes and starts a war somewhere else. He wanted a war. He thought it'd do his image good, the gobhead.
It worries me the way they always turn around and say that Russia is trying to be the superpower all the time, and yet America are the ones that always seem to intervene into things, you know. Whenever there's trouble, they're always involved in it, you know.
Perhaps that is not a coincidence. All right, Christine?
Ta-ra.
Ta-ra.
Red Rose Stereo.
Hello, Alan. I can prove that everyone in this world is illegitimate. You see, because God is supposed to be our father, but he ain't no. So we ain't got a father. We never have had.
Rather depends on whether you believe in God. If you believe in...
But the media, the top scientists, say that there's no such thing as God.
And that's not necessarily so. The top scientists are not uniquely, but certainly are believers in God. They cannot provide scientific evidence of his or her existence, but that doesn't stop them believing. However, to carry on with your thesis, allow me to say that if you believe in God, and you must do to bring the proposition you've just brought, then you must believe in the fact that God is everywhere. God is omnipotent and always present. If he's always present, your argument flounders. Good night. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Alan.
Yes?
I'll do.
Yes?
I'd like to talk about motorways if I can.
You can, or at least you may.
Well, I reckon they're using them as racetracks these days.
Who are?
The people who drive the cars.
Indeed.
They go too fast, that's what I reckon. What have you got to say, Al?
I have no interest in your conversation. You've made your statement, that's fine.
You cretin!
Yes, I know. What a knobhead. Hello, Johnny.
Hello, Alan. I'd like to talk about your show in general.
Well, where are you ringing from now?
Gatley.
Well, you'll have to talk about it in Gatley.
Well, I'll talk about it in Gatley then. It's about the whole of your show tonight. I've just tuned in, and it's your voice. You sound like a demented spastic. I can't stand it.
Well, turn off your
Get
gong.
from the arse.
Well, it may
all
well,
these
but it's
people
supposed to go
ringing
in by
about
your
pointless
ear.
subjects.
Johnny.
What?
Turn it off. There's a silly boy. Hello, Lee.
How do, Alan?
Hello.
Little Jan walked through the little forest with his flute.
I'm sure he did, but we don't need to know all about pantomime on this programme. On line 5, we have somebody by the name of Michael. Hello.
Easter.
That it?
Yep.
Stuff you, Happy Easter. Hello, Barney.
Alan?
Yes?
I want to talk about something that has always puzzled me. It was, I was watching the Funny Stones the other night, and at the end, when he kicks his dog out at the door, the dog just climbs back in through the window. And then he kicks
He doesn't have a dog.
Well, you know what I mean. What's his name? Dino, that's it.
Dino isn't a dog.
He was his pet dinosaur, it is.
That is exactly what Dino is. He is not a dog.
Well, why doesn't Fred climb back in through the window when he gets kicked out? He just stands there banging at the door shouting Wilma.
Indeed he does.
Hey, you are the DJ, aren't you? Yeah. So why the slow music? This is a party, not a wake.
Now don't look at me. Blame her, the girl in the purple flares. It's her party, it's her music, and it's what she wants to hear. What can I do?
Perhaps you need a little inspiration. Like, say, a bottle of Budweiser?
A bottle of Budweiser? Well, now that you come to mention it, it's not what you play, it's the way that you play it.
Budweiser, matured over beechwood for a taste that's strong yet smooth. Now sold and brewed in the UK. Budweiser, coolest beer in town.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hello?
Yes?
I would like to talk about students.
Go ahead.
Well, you're always slagging students off.
Why are you telling me this, Jonathan?
Pardon?
Why are you telling me this?
I'm just basing my argument.
Your argument is already quite base. It doesn't require you to tell me what I do and say. Perhaps you need to just get on with your point of view.
All right, then. I think students are the base of the whole of society.
Would you like to explain your statement? Indeed, explain what you mean by the base of the whole of society, given that they make up a very small proportion of society.
Perhaps they do make up a small proportion.
When you say perhaps, does that mean you doubt it?
No, I don't doubt it.
You don't doubt it, so you agree that they make up a small proportion of society.
I do,
so
yeah.
the word perhaps is irrelevant.
Perhaps is irrelevant, yeah.
I see.
Anyway, in order for a society to progress, such as Japan has progressed in the last few years.
We don't live in Japan.
No, we don't.
Well, would you like to try and confine your conversations to this country?
Why?
Why not?
To make a comparison makes the argument
I see. Well, go on, let us hear your argument then. You're going to tell me that nearly everyone in Japan is a student, are you?
No, did I say that?
I was just questioning you. I didn't say you said it. I was asking you whether you were going to.
No, well, I didn't say that, and I'm not going to say that.
Oh, that's very interesting. Go on. So what you are going to say then, or would you agree that in Japan students make up a tiny proportion of the population as well as here?
Yeah.
You're in the business of making comparisons. Let us
That's
find out what
probably true, yeah.
Well, probably true. Do you not know?
No, I don't know, no.
And yet you're going to use Japan as a basis, and you don't know whether they are the majority of society or not.
The fact that I don't know the exact number doesn't mean I can't use it as a comparison, does it?
It doesn't mean that you can't, but it does, to a certain extent, dilute that comparison. But feel free to progress on your weary way.
Anyway, all the advanced societies, such as Japan, such as America, they have the highest proportion of students. And as such, they have...
Jonathan, I seem to recall a tiny few seconds ago asking you whether you knew what proportion of people in Japan were students, and you said no. Now
I don't know the exact figure.
I see, but you know that it's a greater figure than here.
Well, for instance...
Well, do you know that or not? Is it a greater figure in Japan or a lesser figure? Which of those statements
I
is
really
correct?
don't know.
You don't know whether there are more students in Japan, or proportionately, that is, of course, or less than in Britain?
No, can you...
You don't know?
Can you enlighten me?
Well, no, I can't enlighten you. I just wonder, Jonathan, why you started this argument that seemed to imply that Japan was better off because it had more students, when you don't know whether it's got more or less. It's an extraordinary course to take when you don't know the figures. But do go on.
Anyway, in order, as I said before, in order to progress, a society needs its students.
Then why is it that we're not progressing all that much? Because we do have them.
If you look at any university...
Just answer the question. Why are we not progressing? We do have quite a lot of students. Indeed, more students now than we had some years ago. But we seem to be regressing somewhat rather than progressing.
Because the facilities available to our students are not...
So I see. So what you're saying, Jonathan, isn't that we need more students, or indeed that students themselves are an aid to society, but that those students require facilities beyond what they have now.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So are you telling me that the reason we're regressing at this moment as a society, in terms of economics at least, and to a certain extent scientific development, perhaps you would prefer the term progressing less quickly than other countries rather than regression, you're telling me that it is because our students aren't able to perform their function?
It's not because they're not able to perform the functions, it's because...
So they can perform their function?
Given the right circumstances.
Oh, I see. So what you're saying is the statement, our students cannot perform their function, isn't untrue, as you just said, but is actually true, but you would like to give reasons for it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, well, I don't know whether you bothered to interrupt me. We've already had your reason. You told us a little earlier about their lack of facilities. I was merely informing our listener, because I'm sure there's only one left by now, I was merely informing our listener that your view seems to be that because they haven't got the facilities, they are not able to perform their function.
That's right.
So you give the British public at this juncture a dilemma. Do we invest more money in students because we want their use, we want the value they can provide, they can turn us Japanese it would seem, or do we say, well, our students aren't able to perform their function, so let's get rid of the parasites anyway?
No, we should invest more in our...
Well, that is the decision you've chosen, Jonathan, but obviously we're not concentrating on what Jonathan thinks, we're concentrating on what's the right course of action to take. Do you accept that the alternatives I've just outlined are correct according to what you've said during the course of this conversation?
Your outlines are correct.
So the choice facing the public today is either do away with them or supply them with much better and much superior and indeed much more relevant equipment.
Well, that's what people have to do if they want a better lifestyle.
Well, indeed, that is what they have to do if they want a better lifestyle, but it isn't necessarily what society has to do if it wants a better lifestyle for it.
Can you suggest any other alternative routes?
Well, there are two alternatives, or a choice of two alternatives, facing the public at the moment from this conversation. And that is either we put more money into our colleges, universities and the like, and improve the facilities for the students, or we come to terms with the fact that the students we have, on your words, Jonathan, not mine incidentally, but on your words, the students we have are unable to perform the function for which society has them. So let's do away with them. Now, I suggest to you that in this economic climate, perhaps the latter of those courses would be the one chosen by the man on the dole.
That's probably true.
Indeed. So your argument boils down to 4 million people think we shouldn't have students anyway.
Yeah.
I see. Well, it was nice of you to come on. I'm sure the students are grateful for your contribution to their downfall. Hello, Tarquin.
Hello.
Yes?
Alan, I'd like to talk about nuclear disarmament.
Go on.
Well, I think it's crazy that you've got on the one side the Russians with who called a halt on nuclear nuclear testing until the end of this month. And then again, you've got the Americans who are always claiming that they want peace and, to reach some sort of agreement with the Russians about reducing the number of nuclear weapons, that they, started nuclear testing again. I think it was yesterday or the day before. I think there's no chance of, even the numbers being reduced when you've got a situation like this, where, on the one you've got one at least showing that they're trying to make an effort, if it is true, that is, that the Russians aren't, going ahead with any more tests. And then on the other hand, you've got the Americans who, starting testing again. And we're led to believe that they're on our side, and they don't seem to be showing any, initiative as far as, going along with the Russians reducing the number of nuclear weapons.
Well, indeed, but talking whether they're on our side or not, and by that I presume you mean the Americans, doesn't really matter. The issue is whether they should or should not continue testing nuclear weapons. One wonders whether there is any point in having nuclear weapons if you don't test them.
Yeah, true, but...
You need to know, if you are to have a strategic nuclear defence, you need to know that it's going to work when you press the button.
Yeah, but I think that they've done plenty of that already. They know the facts, how to make them, they know, there's not that much room, I wouldn't imagine, for development in, as far as nuclear weapons go.
Indeed they do, and to be flippant for a moment, they've been making aeroplanes for a long time, but would you fly in one the very first time?
No, I wouldn't.
If you got in it on your way to Benidorm and the guy said, well, we've got a brand new one for you today, it's got no miles on the clock, lads. We'll go to Benidorm. Would you, buggery? You'd want it tested.
Yeah, but
well, a nuclear weapon is a lot more complicated than an airliner.
Yeah,
so perhaps we've got to test them too.
Yeah, but the point is that, if there's any chance of us getting the number of nuclear weapons down, then there's got to be some sort of system whereby, they can...
Well, the risk of being flippant again, when we test that one tomorrow, they will go down, there'll be one less.
Yeah, that's been a bit silly, though, saying
but it's gone down, it's one less, that's what you want.
Yeah, but you know what I'm trying to say, though?
I do know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that the Yanks should have agreed to a test ban treaty.
Yeah, well...
That's exactly what you want to say.
Yeah, it would at least show the Russians that they were at least willing...
Yes, of course, but then Mr. Reagan wouldn't get to play with his toys, would he?
No, I suppose not.
And that's what it comes down to, some senile old fool wanting to play with his dangerous toys.
Yeah. Yet again on the news tonight, I mean, back in I think it was a Libyan plane or something, wasn't it?
Well, he's now attacked Libya, for crying out loud. He's attacked their country, virtually.
Yeah.
The man is a warmongering fool. He hasn't had a war during his 2 years, and he's really pigged off about it. He wants one. Yeah. Didn't do Thatcher any harm, so he wants one. Yeah. The guy's a big fool, I'm telling you.
The thing is, though, before Reagan came to power, it was the same sort of situation then. So I don't, see how you can attach the blame, because of his attitude towards the war. It's been the same, quite...
Indeed, but the attitude of the Russians wasn't the same. Mr. Kosygin, remember, was one for brinkmanship. He wasn't not Kosygin, the guy before him even, Khrushchev. Remember the Cuban situation with Mr. Kennedy?
Yeah.
That wasn't anything like a test ban treaty. That was, go on then, blow us out the sky, pal, see if you dare.
Yeah.
Okay, the West, it is said, won that particular showdown. I tend to think that they lost it.
Yeah. But do you think that if, for example, they were to, reach some sort of situation where they could, say, well, we're not going to do any more further testing, therefore, indirectly call a halt to nuclear, weapons going in number?
I think that would be a step in the right direction towards nuclear disarmament, and that is why the Americans did not take it, because they don't want to nuclear disarm, despite the lies that pour out the mouth of the fool.
Yeah. But what I'm also saying is, do you not think that by doing that, then, I think, what I'm really trying to get at is that, is there any actual way that if they do agree on something, that they can actually, other than, is spying the only actual way left? How would they be able to know, that...
These days it is virtually impossible, indeed impossible in the true sense of the word, although there is always the nth degree, but it is as good as impossible that anyone could use a nuclear weapon, even in test, and not have it discovered by the opposite side.
But what about the increasing in numbers? I mean, don't you necessarily have to test them, do they?
It's very difficult even for them to increase in numbers without the other side knowing. Very difficult.
So you're saying that as far as you know, like, it's just left us flying, really. I mean, what they can find out. I mean,
Well, if you like, yes. They do make declarations of what nuclear weapon, but each country makes a declaration as to what weapon stocks it has. It doesn't say where they are, obviously, for tactical reasons, but it does state what they've got. And there is a way of checking that. I don't know the way, but there are a number of ways. A collection of information brought together can check it within a few warheads, I'm sure. Okay?
Okay, thank
Cheers,
you.
ta-ra. Hello, Vicky.
Helen Bellin, Ugly Melon.
That's very good, Vicky. How do Jason?
Hello, Alan. How
Yes.
do?
What do you want?
I just going to tell you something. I went into the chemist today, and as I was in there, this duck walked in and looked up over the counter and said, "Can I have a bottle of shampoo, please?" And the chemist gave him the bottle of shampoo and said, "It's 58 pence, please." He said, "I'll put it on me bill."
Thank you very much, Jason. How do Scott?
Oh, I'll do.
Yep.
I'd just like to talk about all these football cups they keep coming up with.
Go on.
Well, I only think that this Freight Rover's the only one worthwhile having.
The Freight Rovers is the only one worthwhile having.
Yeah.
Sure, the Football Association Cup organisers wouldn't agree with you, but never mind. That's your view, Scott. You're entitled to it, even though you are a prat. Hello, Deborah.
Hello, Alan. I'd just like to say that I don't agree with testing beauty care and cosmetics on animals.
Why?
Well, there's other things like dermatologist-tested things, and, you know, you don't have to test them on animals these days, because you could use, like, herbs and things for the makeup.
Well, just a moment. We seem
Instead
to
of
be...
chemicals.
Right, so what you're saying is that we should use herbs rather than chemicals.
Yeah.
But if we choose to use chemicals, do you agree then that we must test them?
Well, no, I don't agree with using chemicals in the first place.
So you suggest that we should just ban cosmetics that require to be tested on animals?
Yeah, totally.
Right. What about medicines?
Well, medicines are a different thing because they're a life and death situation.
Well, influenza drugs are hardly a life and death situation.
No, but what I mean is, we don't wear makeup because, you know, we choose to wear makeup. Whereas
We choose to take aspirin or antibiotics and the like.
Well, fair enough, but there's a lot of other drugs that, you know, that are tested on animals, you know, which like cancer and things. I mean, I know there's an awful lot of animals tested for cancer. And really, you know, if you've had a death in the family of someone for cancer, I haven't, so I don't feel that I can say.
Well, what if you've had somebody go blind through using a cosmetic?
Well, I've already said I don't agree. I mean, if you use natural herbs, then it shouldn't really. I mean, I use natural herb cosmetics, and it hasn't done anything to me.
Fine.
And it's usually, you know, very sensitive to your skin.
But there again, Deborah, there's no suggestion in your statement that if you used Goya or Max Factor or...